Chapter 57. Misunderstanding or something more. Rimuru. We're about to head outside. After stopping them, I brought both of them to my house and gave them a good scolding. I told them that I had some punishments in mind, but those will come later. For now, I'm letting it slide. Currently, we're heading out to show milf the city since it's her first visit after it was built. With me are Ciel and milf. Veldora is likely in his room, hiding his manga, probably fearing that I'll take them away later as punishment. And Shizue, well, she's sleeping because she's exhausted. I'm going to introduce milf to everyone in the city, just like I did with Veldora. I've already instructed Rigor to gather everyone in the city square. It will take some time, so in the meantime, I decided to give milf a tour. As we wandered through the city, milf's eyes sparkled with excitement. She marveled at the bustling marketplace, the beautifully crafted buildings, and the diverse inhabitants. Children playing in the streets waved at us, their laughter filling the air. milf waved back enthusiastically, her joy practically overflowing. We passed by various shops and stalls, each showcasing unique goods and crafts. milf stopped frequently, asking questions and admiring the wares. She was like a kid at a festival, excitedly exploring and getting new toys. The merchants were more than happy to explain their products and share stories about the city's development. milf was particularly delighted by the food stalls. We stopped at plenty of them, eagerly trying every single dish. She devoured everything with gusto, and declared that she liked each one very much. The variety and flavors fascinated her, and she was always eager for the next bite. What she liked most, however, were the sweets. Whenever we passed by a dessert stall, her eyes would light up with excitement. She tasted candies, cakes, and pastries with pure delight, savoring each sugary treat with a wide smile. The sweetness of the desserts brought her immense joy, and she couldn't get enough. Eventually, we reached the central park, a lush green space filled with vibrant flowers and towering trees. milf ran ahead, her excitement evident. She twirled around, taking in the sights and sounds of the lively park. After spending some time in the park, we continued our tour, visiting important landmarks and meeting more of the city's residents. milf's enthusiasm never waned. It was clear she was thoroughly enjoying her first visit. Finally, we made our way to the city square, where a large crowd had already gathered. The atmosphere was electric, filled with anticipation and curiosity. As we entered the square, everyone bowed, showing respect to me. I returned the greetings and guided milf to the stage. After gazing over the assembled citizens, I took a deep breath, ready to introduce milf to everyone, and officially welcome her to our nation. The crowd's murmurs quieted as I stepped forward to address them. With a steady voice, I began to speak. Greetings, citizens of Tempest, I began, my voice projecting across the square, ensuring that everyone could hear it. Today, we gather here to welcome a dear friend of mine. No, dear is not quite right. Today, we are gathered here to welcome my best friend, I declared, shifting the crowd's attention to milf, who stood beside me, radiant with anticipation. Allow me to introduce one of the most renowned and feared demon lords, known far and wide throughout the world, as the destroyer milf. My declaration echoed across the square, filled with pride. However, instead of the expected applause, what followed was complete and utter silence. As the silence lingered, I took a moment to gauge the crowd's reaction. The air crackled with anticipation, and all eyes remained fixed on milf, who stood tall, but with a displeased expression beside me. Seeing the crowd's reaction, I was confused. I had just introduced milf in a way that I thought would be fitting, but her displeased face shocked me. Just moments ago, she had been overflowing with happiness. What could have caused this sudden change? Ciel sighed, noticing my confusion. Meanwhile, Shizue woke from her slumber and made her way to the city square. She arrived and took a spot beside Ciel, asking what had happened. Ciel explained the situation to Shizue. Ciel told Shizue that we were introducing milf to everyone and officially welcoming her to our nation. However, when I introduced her, I referred to her as just my best friend rather than my sister, which was how I had described her 20,000 years ago. This oversight displeased milf. After hearing this, Shizue sighed and looked toward me, realizing I needed to correct my mistake as soon as possible. Confused by milf's reaction, I tried to understand what had caused her displeasure. As I stood there, countless scenarios raced through my mind, attempting to pinpoint the reason behind her sudden change in demeanor. Then, clarity dawned upon me. I had made a mistake. At the same time, Shizue approached me, her expression serious yet understanding. "Rimuru, you need to fix this," she whispered urgently. "Remember what you told milf 20,000 years ago. She sees you as a brother, not just a friend. That's why she's upset." I nodded and turned back to the crowd, raising my hands to regain their attention. The murmurs quieted, and all eyes were once again on me and milf. "My apologies, everyone," I began, my voice strong and sincere. "It seems I made a mistake. milf is not just my best friend. She is my sister. We share a bond that goes beyond friendship." After hearing this, milf's displeased expression softened slightly, a glimmer of hope returning to her eyes. "I want you all to know that milf is a part of our family here in Tempest," I continued. Please welcome her as you would a member of your own family, with all the respect and love that entails. Treat her just as you treat me, Ciel, Shizue, and Veldora. With that, I stepped back and gave the stage to milf. The crowd responded with enthusiastic applause, louder and more heartfelt than before. The atmosphere in the square became warmer and more inclusive, as the citizens of Tempest understood the significance of my words. milf's face broke into a radiant smile, her previous displeasure completely gone. She stepped forward, waving to the crowd with genuine joy. The citizens' cheers grew even louder, and many of them waved back, their expressions filled with admiration and excitement. Wahahaha. Fuhahaha. I am the one and only milf Nava. It's a pleasure. Thank you, everyone. I'm so happy to be here and to be a part of this family, milf declared loudly. The cheers grew even louder, and I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I turned to milf, giving her an apologetic nod and a brotherly smile, silently conveying my apology and gratitude. After the introduction, we started to leave the stage. As we did, milf leaned closer to my ear, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Oh, Rimuru, you always know how to make things right. But remember, family ties can be complicated. Sometimes, they require a little extra attention, you know. She whispered with a husky, playful tone. I chuckled nervously, catching the hint in her words, but refusing to acknowledge it. What the heck is going on? Why is milf talking this way? No, in the first place, milf can't talk this way. She doesn't know this way of talking. Then how? And she doesn't seem to know what she is saying either. I thought, trying to understand why milf was acting this way. Of course, milf. I'll make sure to give you all the attention you need, I replied, equally playful. Looks like you've got your work cut out for you, Rimuru. But don't worry, I'm sure I'll do my best, milf. With you by my side, I'm sure everything will turn out just fine, I grinned, recognizing that the words seemed out of character for milf. They felt like someone else's, so I decided to play along with a mischievous tone. Don't worry, I'll get back at you. I thought to myself as I ended the conversation with milf. Haha, this is fun, and he also said he will spend more time with me. This advice is the best. I think I'll go and ask for a little more advice, milf thought, pondering over my promise to give her more attention. However, it seems her words didn't quite match her true intentions, and the third party found the situation quite amusing. Together, we walked through the town square toward the outskirts of the city to see the breathtaking view. As we reached the hill to watch the sunset, the air around milf suddenly changed. Without a word, she launched herself at Shizue with the speed of light, attempting to land a punch. Shizue, with incredible reflexes, dodged the punch flawlessly. What's the meaning of this? Shizue asked, her voice calm but alert as she maintained her defensive stance. milf attacked again, moving with even greater speed. Once more, Shizue managed to dodge the attack without difficulty. Shizue narrowed her eyes, trying to understand milf's behavior, but couldn't figure it out for the time being. She decided to take a defensive approach. Rimuru, observing this, stepped forward with concern evident in his eyes. He understood milf's intention, but was worried about Shizue's well-being. milf, there's no need for this, he said, his voice filled with genuine concern for both of them. As he moved to intervene, Ciel tightened her grip on his hand, halting him. Rimuru looked at her, seeking an explanation. Ciel responded with a warm smile and a calm tone, let them be, master. It will help them grow closer and forge a bond. Yes, but we both know this isn't the right time or place, Rimuru replied, maintaining his calm demeanor. I understand, Ciel agreed, but this experience will be valuable for Shizue. Until now, she's only faced a few strong opponents in organized settings. This unplanned battle will prepare her for sudden confrontations with powerful individuals in the future. It's important for her growth. Rimuru sighed, conceding, I suppose you're right. Knowing milf, she will push Shizue to her limits. This will help Shizue understand her weaknesses better than any advice we could give her. Personal experience is often more enlightening. Exactly, Ciel said with a hint of amusement. And let's not forget that milf was the one who suggested this sparring session. We know why she did it. Rimuru nodded, acknowledging the point. He stepped back, creating a barrier with a radius of a few miles to prevent any external interference. Meanwhile, Ciel set up a table and 2 chairs under a nearby tree, and they both settled down with a cup of tea, observing the ongoing battle. As Shizue dodged a series of attacks from milf, she glanced over at Rimuru and Ciel. To her surprise, they were sitting calmly under the tree, sipping tea. Momentarily distracted by this, she was caught off guard by a powerful punch from milf, sending her crashing into nearby trees. Shizue quickly recovered and stood, determined to face milf once more. If Rimuru and Ciel are so calm, they must be aware of the situation, she thought. With renewed focus, she summoned her sword, ready to engage. milf grinned, her eyes gleaming with excitement. That's more like it, Shizue. Show me what you've got, she exclaimed, charging at Shizue again. Shizue parried milf's attack with her sword, the clash creating a shockwave that rippled through the air. The two began exchanging blows, each testing the other's strength and skill. Rimuru and Ciel watched closely, understanding the significance of this intense sparring session. Milm-chan, you're really giving me a workout. Shizue called out, a hint of amusement in her voice as she blocked another punch. Good. I wouldn't have it any other way, Milm replied, her tone brimming with excitement and a touch of mischief. Let's see how far you can push me. Milm delivered a powerful kick to Shizue's abdomen. Shizue absorbed the impact, her expression determined as she slid back a few feet. She regained her stance and countered with a swift sword slash aimed at Milm's side. Milm dodged gracefully, her agility and experience on full display. The battle escalated, with Shizue and Milm moving at blinding speeds. Their attacks created shockwaves that echoed through the barrier, and the ground trembled with each powerful strike. The air hummed with the energy of their confrontation. Shizue, her sword blazing with crimson flames, unleashed a torrent of fire toward Milm. Milm countered with a barrier of pure energy, dispersing the flames in an explosive burst that lit up the night sky. Unyielding, Milm retaliated with rapid energy blasts, each creating craters in the ground, as Shizue deftly dodged and deflected them. The intensity of their clash shook the very foundations of the hill. The energies colliding shattered stars and planets, but the barrier ensured that none of it affected the outside world. Rocks and boulders turned to dust from the released energy. Milm, her eyes aglow with battle fervor, charged forward with tremendous energy. Shizue met her head-on, their collision flattening the surrounding terrain. They grappled momentarily before soaring into the sky, their aerial battle a blur of speed and power. Milm and Shizue moved faster than the speed of light, trading blows that sent ripples through space. Each impact resonated like thunder across the now barren land, sending boulders flying as if they were pebbles. Milm summoned a massive energy sphere and hurled it at Shizue. Shizue, her sword enveloped in bloody red flames, sliced through the sphere, causing it to explode in a dazzling display of light and sound. The explosion carved a new crater in the land, sending debris flying in all directions. Despite the battle's ferocity, both combatants remained focused, their determination unbroken. Milm, surrounded by a destructive aura, unleashed a flurry of punches and kicks that distorted the fabric of space. Shizue, blending grace and precision, parried and countered with equal ferocity, her sword leaving trails of energy. The ground shook as Milm stomped, sending a shockwave that cracked and split the earth. Shizue responded with a torrent of flames, which Milm countered with her haki. After the attack subsided, Milm charged at Shizue with renewed vigor. The once serene hilltop was now a scarred battlefield. Rimuru and Ciel exchanged amused glances from their vantage point. After 4 days of relentless fighting, the sun began to set. Milm, visibly bruised and dirtied but still energetic, paused and faced Shizue. Both fighters bore light bruises but remained remarkably unscathed. Milm looked at Shizue with newfound respect. You're truly something, Shizue. Just as Velzard said. It's been 300 years since I had a warm-up this good, she remarked, her voice a mix of admiration and amusement. Shizue, her sword still at the ready, nodded in acknowledgement. And you, Milm-chan, are every bit as formidable as the legends say, she replied, her tone conveying respect and readiness for whatever came next. Though exhausted, Shizue hoped Milm would consider the fight over. However, Milm's next words were far from what she wanted to hear. Milm's eyes gleamed with excitement as she cracked her knuckles, a mischievous grin spreading across her face. But that doesn't mean this fight is over yet. That was just a warm-up. The real battle is about to begin, she declared, sending a shiver of anticipation down Shizue's spine. Chapter 58. The Destroyer vs. the Flame Empress. Epic Showdown. Milm's eyes gleamed with excitement as she cracked her knuckles, a mischievous grin spreading across her face. But that doesn't mean this fight is over yet. That was just a warm-up, the real battle is yet to start, she declared, sending a shiver of anticipation down Shizue's spine. As she spoke, Milm began to release an abnormally enormous amount of energy, which instantly dwarfed Shizue's own. The energy continued to grow at an exponential rate, emitting a blinding light from Milm. When the light finally died down, Milm could be seen flying in the air, now transformed. There was a crimson horn adorning her forehead and large draconic wings. With proper battle attire consisting of jet black armor and a sword in her hand, the highest of mythical grade swords, the pinnacle of mythical grade weapons. The Sword of Destruction. Asura Milm had transformed into her battle form, her true form. Now, in all senses, the battle had begun. The destroyer, Milm Nava, had gotten serious. With a burst of energy, Milm descended, her whole body glowing with an azure pink light. Her eyes radiated raw power, and her overwhelming haki ran rampant, dominating every other energy in the surroundings. To Rimuru and Ciel. As Rimuru saw Milm transforming into her true form, he thought of something. I guess we need to change the location of the battle. This land won't be enough for them, Rimuru said to no one in particular while drinking his wine. Yes, I believe we should change this place to a bigger area. How about swapping this place with one of the multiverses? Ciel suggested. Rimuru considered it but shook his head. The multiverse is a good choice, but it's a no. They will annihilate it and cause too much destruction, and I am not in the mood to fix it. Ah, I know what to do, Rimuru said, disagreeing with Ciel's suggestion. Snap. With a snap of his fingers, Rimuru changed the battlefield to another place. The new location was expansive enough to contain their battle, as well as isolated from the rest of existence, and reinforced to minimize damage. Now, they could fight however they wanted without worrying about causing destruction. Back to milf and Shizue. The land below them stretched far and wide, and the sky seemed endless, creating an expansive and boundless environment. They found themselves in a completely different location, surrounded by vastness that extended beyond their sight. However, milf and Shizue weren't troubled by the change, rather, they welcomed it, knowing that Rimuru had altered the battlefield. Yet, as they stood in this new place, they couldn't shake the feeling that something was different. There was a sense of solidity and resilience in the surroundings, as if the very fabric of this place was reinforced against any harm. As milf hovered over the battlefield, her aura pulsated with unfathomable power, casting a daunting shadow over the scene. The very space crackled in fright as she prepared to unleash her might upon Shizue. Shizue tensed, her grip on her sword tightening as she braced herself for the impending battle. Igniting her sword with an intense crimson flame, she remained cool-headed despite the overwhelming haki emanating from milf, ready to face whatever challenge lay ahead. Milf landed with a resounding impact, causing the ground beneath her to crack and split in numerous ways. As she raised a Sur, her mythical great sword, its blade emanated a sinister energy, casting an ominous gleam. The atmosphere grew tense, with the very space around the blade distorting, due to its formidable power. The real battle begins now. Shizue, prepare yourself. Milf's voice boomed, echoing across the battlefield. Without warning, she lunged forward, her speed even greater than before. Bring it on, milf. Shizue replied to milf's incoming attack with an equally strong voice. There was no tension, her voice was as calm as water, yet ready to cut through anything in its path. With a thunderous roar, milf launched herself forward, her speed surpassing all previous bounds. Each movement was invisible to those who couldn't perceive immeasurable speed, as she closed the distance between herself and Shizue in an instant. Shizue met her charge head-on, their swords clashing with a deafening roar. The force of their collision sent shockwaves rippling through space, flattening the remaining terrain, and sending chunks of earth and rock flying in all directions. Their fight ascended to a new level of intensity, each strike more powerful than the last. The sky darkened as if responding to the fury of their battle, thunderclouds forming and rumbling ominously above. Lightning flashed, illuminating the scene with stark blinding light. Rimuru and Ciel watched from their vantage point, their expressions shifting from amusement to excitement. They could feel the immense power radiating from the battlefield, making it thrilling to witness the outcome. As the battle raged on, Shizue and milf pushed each other to their limits and beyond. Their movements were a blur, their attacks devastating. Despite the relentless intensity of their battle, neither showed any sign of fatigue. Their monstrous stamina and indomitable spirits kept them fighting with unwavering determination. Their swords clashed with each other, creating waves of energy. Shizue's sword, the golden blade, and milf's Sur collided, sending out shockwaves that rippled through space. The raw power of their strikes distorted time and space, making the ground beneath them quake and the sky above rumble. The true test of their strength and resolve had begun, and neither warrior intended to back down. Shizue's sword was coated with crimson-red flames hotter than anything in the world, reaching temperatures of over 1 billion degrees, while milf's sword was enveloped in her own aura, increasing its power several times over. As they clashed, the sheer energy of their blows created a blinding light, momentarily obscuring them from view. The sound of metal against metal rang out like thunder, echoing across the now otherworldly battlefield. Their movements became even faster, leaving behind streaks of light as they maneuvered around each other, each trying to gain the upper hand. The intensity of their battle caused the very fabric of reality to ripple and bend around them. milf's eyes shone with exhilaration as she unleashed a barrage of strikes, her speed and strength seemingly without limit. Shizue, however, met each attack with equal ferocity, her crimson flames leaving trails of fiery destruction in their wake. You've got some serious skills, Shizue. And your defenses are incredible, milf shouted, her voice filled with genuine admiration. But I'm just getting started. Shizue replied with a determined grin. With a powerful swing, milf sent a wave of energy crashing towards Shizue. Shizue responded in kind, her own wave of crimson flames, meeting milf's attack head-on. The resulting explosion of energy sent shockwaves tearing through the landscape, shattering the ground and sending debris flying into the air. If the place wasn't isolated by Rimuru, then several galaxies would have already been obliterated by this. The battle continued, the air crackling with their combined power, creating an awe-inspiring display of strength and skill. Rimuru and Ciel watched intently, their expressions now one of genuine excitement and interest, as they awaited the end of the fight. Despite the relentless onslaught, neither milf nor Shizue showed any signs of fatigue. Their spirits were as unyielding as their bodies, driven by an unbreakable will to triumph. milf, her aura flaring even brighter, summoned hundreds of energy spheres, each made up of her own magicules, which seemingly goes on forever, as if there were no end to them. She hurled those spheres towards Shizue. Shizue's eyes narrowed, and with a swift, decisive motion, she sliced through each and every sphere with her blazing sword, causing them to explode in a spectacular burst of light and energy. Impressive, Milm-chan. But I'm not done yet, either, Shizue said, her voice steady and calm. As the dust and light from the explosion settled, the two warriors stood facing each other, their determination unwavering. The true battle had indeed begun, and the outcome was far from certain. With renewed vigor, they charged at each other once more, their swords meeting in another earth-shattering clash. Milm relied on her sheer brute force and raw power, with each strike serving as a testament to her overwhelming strength. Every blow she delivered felt like a hammer, capable of shattering stars and tearing through space itself. Her movements were wild and powerful, driven by an almost primal ferocity, yet there was a discernible skill beneath the surface. On the other hand, Shizue wielded her sword with a level of mastery and precision that Milm couldn't match. Her techniques were diverse, blending fluidly from one form to another, with each strike meticulously calculated. Utilizing her superior skill and versatility, she skillfully parried Milm's powerful blows, countering with precise attacks aimed at exploiting her opponent's weaknesses. There is a significant gap between their skills and strengths, yet the battle continues with both fighters on equal footing, due to their contrasting fighting styles. It's true that Milm heavily relies on her overwhelming brute force, but that doesn't mean she lacks skill. On the contrary, she possesses exceptional skills, having been trained by the world's best martial artists, and some of the greatest swordmasters. Her combat prowess is formidable, and only a few in the world can match her in terms of skill and techniques. However, her opponent, Shizue, is even more agile and skilled than Milm. She trained in martial arts under Veldora, the greatest martial artist in existence, who also trained Milm. This rigorous training endowed Shizue with unparalleled agility and technique. Additionally, Shizue honed her swordsmanship under the tutelage of Rimuru and Ciel, the best and greatest swordmasters ever. Their training made her a master swordsman with a diverse and fluid fighting style that few can hope to match. While Shizue's skills surpass Milm's, allowing her to parry and counter with precision, this compensates for her relatively lesser physical strength. Milm's sheer power, capable of shattering stars and tearing through space itself, contrasts with Shizue's precise and calculated strikes, creating a dynamic and balanced duel between raw strength and refined skill. The battlefield was a chaotic dance of power and skill, with Milm's raw strength clashing against Shizue's refined techniques. The ground beneath them continued to crack and shatter, and the sky above them swirled with dark clouds and lightning. If the place hadn't been isolated, the planet, along with several universes, would have already been wiped from existence. You're relentless, Shizue. And your defenses, I can't seem to penetrate them. It's like a mixture of Veldora and Rimuru's techniques, Milm exclaimed, her voice a mix of frustration and excitement. I have to be, Shizue replied calmly, her eyes focused and unyielding. Against someone like you, there's no other way to survive. I have to do this, otherwise, I'll be lying on the ground lifeless, Shizue responded while deflecting the incoming sword. Milm's aura flared even brighter, her energy level skyrocketing. She unleashed a devastating flurry of attacks, each strike more powerful than the last. Shizue responded with equal intensity, her swordsmanship a blur of deadly precision. As they fought, their energies intertwined, creating a maelstrom of power that threatened to consume everything around them. The very air seemed to vibrate with their combined might, and the ground trembled under the weight of their battle. In the midst of the chaos, Milm and Shizue pushed each other to new heights, their battle a testament to their strength, skill, and indomitable spirits. Neither showed any sign of fatigue, their monstrous stamina and unyielding determination driving them forward. With each clash of their swords, the world around them continued to transform, reshaped by their incredible power. The true test of their abilities had begun, and neither warrior intended to back down. The battle raged on, an epic struggle between raw power and refined technique. Sensing the need for an even greater display of power, Milm delivered a hard kick to Shizue, and took a step back. Her eyes glowed with raw power as she prepared to launch an attack far bigger than any of her previous strikes, capable of affecting reality itself. Drawing in a deep breath, Milm's entire body began to radiate an intense pulsating light. The ground beneath her feet cracked and splintered, unable to withstand the sheer force of her energy. The space around her vibrated with power, distorting the layers of realities that separate different worlds, as she channeled her immense strength into a single devastating attack. Shizue watched intently, her grip tightening on the golden blade. She could feel the overwhelming power Milm was generating, and knew she had to be ready for whatever came next. Her mind raced, strategizing and calculating her next move. The crimson flames on her sword flared brighter, ready to transform into golden flames at any moment, matching the intensity of Milm's aura. Milm, realizing that the ground beneath her couldn't withstand her immense power, flew high into the sky. With the powerful thrust of her wings, she ascended, leaving the fractured earth below. As she hovered above, her aura grew even more intense, pulsating with unfathomable energy. She let go of the sur, allowing it to hover beside her as she raised her right hand above her head, and began to gather a massive amount of energy. It grew larger and more concentrated with each passing second. The ground continued to quake beneath her, cracks spiderwebbing outwards from where she was flying. The energy she was amassing was unlike anything Shizue had ever seen before, a testament to milf's unparalleled strength. I was hoping to use this attack against Veldora, but it seems I have to use it now. It is still incomplete, but it will suffice for this time. Shizue, prepare yourself for the next level. Milf shouted from above, her voice echoing thunderously across the battlefield. Shizue looked up, her eyes narrowing in determination. She could feel the weight of milf's power pressing down on her, but she stood firm, ready to face whatever came next. Her grip tightened on the golden blade, the crimson flames flickering with a golden hue, indicating that Shizue was preparing to ascend to the next level as well. From her vantage point in the sky, milf began to channel her energy once more. This time, she let go of the sword, allowing the sword to hover beside her as she raised her right hand, drawing power from the very fabric of existence. The sky darkened around her, lightning crackling through the air, as a massive amount of unknown energy started to form above her head. The ground beneath them, already devastated, trembled even more violently as milf's energy grew. The energy expanded, pulsating with raw, destructive force. Shizue could feel the overwhelming power emanating from above, a testament to milf's unparalleled strength. "Shizue, this is it," milf called out, her voice filled with both challenge and excitement. "One of my ultimate attacks. A glimpse of my true power, power of the destroyer. Drago, meteor." With a mighty roar, milf launched her attack. Thousands upon thousands of meteors, each the size of a planet, surged forward. These colossal meteors were composed of a mixture of milf's own magicules, stardust energy, and a potent blend of her haki and ore. The energy emanating from them was so intense that it distorted the very fabric of reality around them. As the meteors hurtled toward the ground, they left trails of blazing light in their wake, creating a spectacle of raw, destructive power. The sight was both terrifying and awe-inspiring, a true testament to milf's unparalleled strength and mastery. This is a new attack that milf was creating to use against Veldora. It was designed to neutralize Veldora's new technique, which she developed over the years, mentioned in ch. 40. Veldora's technique is so powerful that it can even give milf a hard time, so she started creating her own new techniques to counter it. So far, milf has successfully developed a few techniques, and this current attack is among them. However, unlike the others, this particular technique is still in its initial stage, far from its final, perfected form. It is still a prototype of what milf envisions. According to milf's calculations, the fully completed version of this technique will be vastly different from its current version. The completed technique will have meteors that are significantly smaller in size, but exponentially more powerful. By condensing the energy within each meteor, milf aims to increase their destructive potential. The concentrated energy and smaller size will result in more intense and precise impacts, amplifying the overall effectiveness of the attack. The completed technique is expected to be thousands of times stronger than its current form. In the completed version, milf aims to rely solely on stardust energy, eliminating her own magicules, ore, and haki from the equation. It will be an attack composed purely of stardust energy, similar to Drago Nova and Drago Buster. In this technique, milf took inspiration from Veldora's Turbulence Wave and Rimuru's Meteor Strike, using them as a foundation, while infusing the technique with her own unique ideas to complete it. Just like in Veldora's Turbulence Wave, milf gathered a huge amount of her own magicules, and combined them with stardust to create condensed, concentrated energy balls. Unlike Veldora's single Turbulence Wave, milf expanded her technique by creating thousands of these energy balls, each one massive in size, rivaling the magnitude of entire planets. Milf then coated all these energy balls with a mixture of her own ore and haki, enhancing their destructive potential. In a final layer, she added stardust energy, which served to amplify their power even further, ensuring that her attack would be nothing short of cataclysmic. Additionally, milf's mastery of her ultimate skill, Shiva, grants her unparalleled control over the execution of this technique. With the combination of her power and her ultimate skill, Shiva, milf can unleash this attack as many times as she wants, without fear of exhaustion of energy, as long as she has the stamina to continue. At milf's command, the meteors hurtled towards Shizue with blinding speed. The battlefield was engulfed in a blinding light, and the air crackled with the raw power of milf's attack. Space and time started to tremble, and the very reality itself began to bend and distort before milf's glimpse of true power. Shizue watched milf's attack with admiration. There was no hint of fear or anxiety in her expression as she observed the onslaught closing in on her. Instead, she maintained a calm demeanor. It's because, up until now, just like milf, Shizue had not yet unleashed her true power either. She looked towards the incoming attack, a confident smile forming on her face, as she also started to use her ultimate skill. Shizue released an enormous amount of energy, her haki becoming more potent, her aura changing. It began to radiate raw power. Unlike before, it was no longer calm, but rather resembled a tamed wild beast, ready to unleash at any moment and tear down the opponent with wild ferocity. As she activated her ultimate skill, the flames of her sword burned with more intensity, more power. Soon, the previous crimson-red flames transformed into a bright golden hue, and a pair of golden wings, entirely made up of golden flames, also appeared on her back. Now, in every sense, Shizue Tempest had entered the fight. The embodiment of flames. The Flame Empress, Shizue Tempest, has gotten serious. Incredible, Milm-chan, you are truly amazing. You said it is still incomplete, yet it is so powerful. Truly, you are on a whole other level than the rest of the world. A true catastrophe. Shizue exclaimed. Shizue's admiration didn't slow her movements. She knew she had to act quickly to counter Milm's abnormally powerful attack. The golden flames surrounding her blade flared even brighter, illuminating her resolute expression. I'll show you the strength I've gained, Milm. Shizue declared, her voice steady and confident. She thrust her sword skyward, and the golden flames intensified. Shizue activated her ultimate skill, Flame Goddess. Her sword blazed with golden flames. With a powerful thrust of her wings, Shizue ascended into the sky, leaving a trail of golden fire in her wake. As the meteors descended, Shizue flew to meet them head-on. Her movements were swift and precise, each strike of her blade slicing through the massive projectiles with ease. The golden flames incinerated the meteors on contact, reducing them to nothing before they could reach the ground. Shizue, despite the overwhelming power of Milm's attack, was able to confront it head-on, because of the help of her ultimate skill, She utilized flame heat domination in synchronization with light domination to amplify the potency of her flames and enhance the effectiveness of her sword, giving it unparalleled power. As a result, her sword's power reached a level where it could effortlessly slice through space and time, and even capable of affecting reality itself. In addition to using flame heat domination and light domination, Shizue also employed law domination to increase her own power, while simultaneously reducing the potency of Milm's attack. By rewriting the fundamental laws of existence, she altered the dynamics of the confrontation in her favor. Furthermore, Shizue utilized spiritual particles domination to manipulate spiritrons in the surrounding environment. As a result, when her sword made contact with the meteors, it triggered a chaotic release of spiritrons, resulting in turmoil and disruption. This disruption led to a massive explosion, which helped to disperse the massive amount of energy inside the meteors. While at it, she also simultaneously used arc light domination to strengthen her body, so it could withstand the impact of the explosion, as well as the damage she would gain when she would be exposed to the stardust by being so near it. However, this was a very risky move, one wrong move, and her whole body would collapse down to her core, leading to immediate death. Yet, her years of mastery over her skill allowed her to wield this dark energy with ease. She had mastered her ultimate skill to the point where she could use it at will, however she wanted, without any drawbacks. But, it's worth noting that this technique would affect normal beings or awakened beings such as demon lords and true heroes, and lead to their immediate death, but it wouldn't affect Shizue too much. It would be akin to being hit by an attack from someone equally as powerful as her. This is due to her being a true spirit, a race equal and similar to true dragons in every aspect. That's why, here, she is using this dark energy to strengthen her body, so she won't sustain too much damage from being exposed to the stardust by being so near it. As this energy, the stardust energy, can affect beings like her too, this way she will be able to continue the battle without taking too much damage. Despite the overwhelming power of the meteors, Shizue remained unfazed. Her mastery over her ultimate skill allowed her to move with unparalleled speed and agility, her flaming sword cutting through the falling stars like a hot knife through butter. She danced through the sky, a blur of golden light, leaving trails of fire in her wake. Milm watched from above, her eyes showing admiration and genuine respect for Shizue. She could see the immense power Shizue was wielding, and it only fueled her desire to push further. With a fierce shout, Milm increased the intensity of her attack, pouring even more energy into the meteors. This only helped in Shizue's determination, which only grew stronger. She flew higher, meeting the meteors head-on with unwavering resolve. Her sword cut through them effortlessly, the golden flames burning brighter with each strike. The sky was filled with the brilliant light of their clash, a testament to their unyielding spirits. You truly are incredible, Milm-chan, but I won't be outdone. Shizue called out, her voice carrying through the chaotic battlefield. Here it is. You showed me one of your techniques, so I'll show you one of mine. Tempest Arts, Sword Style. Technique number 251. Strikes of Heaven. With a powerful surge of energy, Shizue unleashed a series of rapid slashes, millions of sword strikes raining down upon the incoming attack. Each strike was faster and more powerful than the last, sending waves of golden flames through the air. The meteors were reduced to mere sparks in the face of her relentless assault. The battlefield became a spectacle of light and power, the very fabric of reality bending under the force of their attacks. You're amazing, Shizue. Let's see how far we can push each other. Milm, hovering above, smiled in admiration. And once again, the battle raged on, their combined power shaking the very world. Neither warrior showed any signs of slowing down, their spirits burning as brightly as the flames and stardust around them. The clash of their ultimate skills created a symphony of destruction and creation, a dance of unparalleled might and skill. As milf poured more energy into her attack, Shizue continued to counter with unwavering precision. The sky was their battleground, the stars their witnesses, and the outcome of their epic struggle remained uncertain. The world held its breath, watching in awe as two of the greatest warriors fought with unparalleled power, pushing the limits of their power and determination. Shizue's relentless strikes turned the meteors into harmless particles of light, scattering them across the sky. Her golden flames flickered intensely, a testament to her unwavering resolve. The battlefield below was illuminated by the radiant glow of their clash, a stunning display of power and determination. milf's eyes gleamed with excitement as she watched Shizue counter her attack with such precision and skill. Incredible, Shizue. You're truly a worthy opponent, she called out, her voice carrying a mixture of admiration and enthusiasm. Likewise, milf-chan. But this battle is far from over, Shizue responded with a confident smile. With a fierce battle cry, Shizue pushed herself even harder. Her wings of golden flames carried her higher, and she unleashed another barrage of rapid slashes, each one faster and more powerful than the last. The space crackled with the energy of their clash, the sky a brilliant canvas of light and power. milf, not to be outdone, summoned her own surge of energy. Her body radiated with a pulsating light, and she channeled her immense power into a new attack, gripping her sword, Asur, tightly. Very well, Shizue. This is one of the techniques that Veldora had taught me. Let's see how you handle this, milf declared. Following the declaration, she raised Asur above her head, and the blade began to glow with an intense, otherworldly light. The ground below trembled, and the very fabric of reality seemed to warp under the sheer force of her power. The light from her sword grew larger and more intense, pulsating with a mix of stardust energy and milf's own magicules. Shizue's eyes narrowed as she prepared to face milf's next move. She could feel the overwhelming power emanating from her opponent's sword, and she knew she had to be ready. Her golden flames blazed even brighter, and she steadied her grip on the golden blade. Prepare yourself, Shizue, milf shouted, her voice echoing across the battlefield. With a mighty swing of Asur, she unleashed a destructive wave of ominous energy towards Shizue. Shizue met the incoming attack with unwavering resolve. She thrust her sword forward, and the golden flames around her intensified. Bring it on, milf. Tempest Arts. Sword Style. Technique number 201. God's Wrath. With a powerful swing of her sword, Shizue unleashed a colossal wave of golden flames, colliding with milf's energy attack. The clash created a blinding explosion of light and power, the shock waves rippling across the sky and shaking the ground below. The sheer force of their combined attacks bent the very fabric of reality, distorting the space around them. If it were not for Rimuru isolating this place, the cardinal world would have already been decimated into dust. The energy from their attacks was not the only thing that collided. As Shizue closed the distance, her golden blade met milf's Asur in a thunderous clash. Sparks flew as the two swords collided, the sheer force of their impact creating shockwaves that reverberated through the sky. Both warriors gritted their teeth, pushing against each other with all their might. The intense heat from Shizue's flames clashed with the raw power of milf's energy, creating a swirling vortex of light and fire. The battlefield was a dazzling spectacle, their swords locked in a fierce struggle for dominance. milf's eyes sparkled with exhilaration. It's clear that this is more than what she had expected from Shizue, but she's not against it, rather, she is enjoying this battle. You're incredible, Shizue. Let's see how long you can keep this up. I won't back down, milf. Not now, not ever. Shizue responded, her face set with determination. The force of their clashing blades sent ripples through the space, the ground below trembling under the sheer power of their confrontation. The brilliance of their swords' collision illuminated the entire battlefield, casting long shadows and creating an awe-inspiring sight. With each clash, the sky seemed to ignite with their energy, a brilliant display of their unyielding spirits and unparalleled strength. The sound of their swords meeting echoed across the land, a testament to the epic battle between two of the greatest warriors. Despite the overwhelming power of milf's attacks, Shizue held her ground. Her mastery over her ultimate skill, Flame Goddess, and I, allowed her to counter milf's immense energy with her own, her golden flames pushing back against the destructive force. The sky was ablaze with their clash, a stunning display of their strength and determination. As the explosion subsided, Shizue and milf faced each other. Shizue bore some injuries, but her spirit remained unyielding. The last two attacks had taken a toll on her body, as she had utilized some of the powerful techniques to counter milf's assaults. Meanwhile, milf had only sustained some slight bruises, and about toll, something like this has never occurred to milf. The battlefield is a testament to their epic struggle, the ground scarred and the space crackling with residual energy. The world watched in awe as the two warriors stood tall, their eyes locked in mutual respect and admiration. This is far from over, milf, Shizue said, her voice steady despite the exhaustion and injuries. Indeed, Shizue. Let's continue to push each other to new heights. I want to see how far you can go, so show me. Milf grinned, her eyes alight with excitement. Milf's statement only fueled Shizue's determination to win the fight, but she knew that she couldn't defeat milf. Nonetheless, she was determined to give her all. With renewed determination, the two warriors charged at each other once more, their swords clashing in a brilliant display of power and skill. The battle raged on, an epic testament to their unyielding spirits and unparalleled strength. It has been a few days, and their battle is still ongoing with the same intensity. In the midst of their combat, milf stepped back with the intent to wrap up the battle. She took a deep breath, her eyes locked onto Shizue, who stood ready to counter any move. The air crackled with anticipation as the two warriors prepared for their next clash. milf raised her hand, gathering a massive amount of energy into a swirling vortex above her. You pushed me this far and even made me use my true form, Shizue. And for that, you have earned my respect. But the battle has been stretched for too long, so now, let's end this, milf said. Shizue, her determination unwavering, nodded in agreement. Agreed, milf. Let's end this once and for all, Shizue responded. With a powerful thrust of her wings, Shizue ascended into the sky once more, her golden flames blazing brighter than ever. She gathered all her strength, channeling it into her golden blade. The air around her shimmered with heat and light as she prepared for her next attack. milf, her eyes radiating raw, untamed power, clenched her fist as she summoned stardust energy. Drago Buster with a mighty roar, she unleashed a devastating blast of energy towards Shizue. Drago Buster is a variant of Drago Nova, albeit a downgraded version that has been weakened to the absolute limit, and then diffused into over a dozen smaller beams of destruction. As a result, the collateral damage is reduced to a minimum, and it becomes relatively safe to use compared to a Drago Nova, whose destructive power is unparalleled. Though its power is reduced, it is still more than enough to kill any awakened individuals. Only those who have reached the level of true dragons can withstand this attack without noticeable damage, only with some small injuries and bruises. The devastating attack surged forward with incredible speed, tearing through the air with unstoppable force. Shizue, recognizing the imminent danger, braced herself for the impact. With a swift motion, she raised her golden blade, channeling her own energy into a defensive stance. The golden flames surrounding her sword flared brightly, forming a protective barrier against milf's attack. To make it more effective, she also added the effective multi-dimensional barrier, one of the sub-skills of her ultimate skill. The collision between their powers sent shockwaves rippling through the sky, shaking the very foundation of the battlefield. The sheer force of their clash created a dazzling display of light and energy, illuminating the surrounding landscape with brilliant hues. As the dust settled, Shizue emerged from the aftermath, her golden flames flickering but still burning fiercely. Despite the intensity of milf's attack, she had managed to withstand it with sheer determination and skill. milf, without showing any side effects of unleashing such powerful attacks, watched the scene unfold before her. However, as she saw Shizue emerging from the attack unscathed, her muscles tensed, ready to engage in battle once again. milf watched Shizue with a mixture of awe and admiration. Impressive, Shizue, you truly are a formidable opponent, she said, her voice filled with genuine respect. Shizue nodded, a respectful glint in her eyes. And you as well, milf. But this battle is far from over, I can still go on, Shizue said, but now there was some tiredness evident in her voice, showing the toll of battle that her body had taken. However, in contrast to Shizue, milf's expression hardened as she made her decision. No, Shizue, this battle has stretched more than it should have. Trust me, I really wanted to fight you more, but I can't because it's time to end this once and for all, she said. With a resolute nod, milf raised her hand once more, gathering an immense amount of energy around her. This time, she tapped into the deepest reserves of her power, summoning forth the stardust energy. However, the magnitude of the energy was far greater than any of her previous attacks. It was easily more than 10 times the amount of stardust energy she had used up until now in this battle. Now, she had decided to use a technique that she had rarely used, the Drago Nova. It is one of her strongest and most powerful attacks. Even the likes of true dragons find it hard to deal with. They couldn't neutralize or deflect it, they could only endure the heavy damage it inflicted. However, there's one exception to it. No, it's not Rimuru and Ciel. The air crackled with anticipation as milf's aura surged, enveloping her in a blinding light. The ground beneath her trembled, unable to contain the sheer magnitude of her energy. You are truly a worthy opponent, Shizue, and I have enjoyed our battle so far, milf declared, her voice filled with respect. In honor of our fight, in honor of you, to show you my respect, I will show you one of my greatest attacks that only few have witnessed. My strongest attack, Drago Nova. With a fierce cry, she unleashed the Drago Nova. During this attack, milf gathers stardust into a sphere between her hands, before exploding it outwards in a beam in front of her. It's an incredibly powerful attack that no barrier can withstand, and holds the potential to destroy the entire cardinal world in one go if misused. Its power is so great that even attempting to send it to another dimension is incapable of stopping it, only slightly mitigating the damage at most. So far, only a few individuals are capable of this feat, but only when it is not used to its full potential. When the Drago Nova is utilized to its full potential, it is impossible to avoid. It will reach its target and obliterate it. However, at this moment, milf has only used nearly half of its power, because she is not intending to kill Shizue, but only to finish the battle. As the Drago Nova surged forward, it became a devastating explosion of power that threatened to engulf everything in its path. Sky, land, air, space, time, even the very reality itself was being destroyed as the attack surged forward, ready to obliterate the enemy. It hurled towards Shizue with unstoppable force. To Rimuru and Ciel. Ciel, did you see it? Rimuru questioned Ciel as he finished the wine in his glass. Yes, master, and I don't think it will be wise to let this battle continue anymore. And I believe you know why, don't you? Ciel replied to him with a cryptic voice. Yes, I know, and don't give me that look. I didn't do anything wrong, Rimuru replied, his voice carrying suspense. Although the last part was said normally in defense, but Ciel just ignored that last sentence. I think it's time, he continued. Ciel nodded in agreement, her expression unreadable as she observed Drago Nova surging forward with unfathomable power. Back to the battle. The Drago Nova tore through space and time with unstoppable force, hurtling towards Shizue with relentless power. As the devastating attack surged forward, Shizue braced herself, her golden flames flickering fiercely as she prepared to defend against a world-destroying attack. She knew that deflecting or countering this attack would be very difficult, so she chose the optimal action. Defense. With a determined expression, Shizue raised her golden blade, channeling her own energy into a defensive stance. The golden flame surrounding her sword blazed brighter than ever, forming a protective barrier against the approaching Drago Nova. She watched the attack closing in on her with a sense of anticipation of the outcome. However, that outcome never came because just before the attack could reach her, someone appeared in front of her. And, as that, she heard a word, and everything disappeared. The attack, the battlefield, the sky, everything vanished, and they were back on the hill, which was now completely restored just as it was before their fight. Shizue's heart raced as she stood on the restored hill, the memory of the battle still fresh in her mind. She glanced around, trying to make sense of what had just happened. One moment, she was facing down milf's devastating attack, and the next, they were back on the peaceful hillside. What just happened? Shizue asked, her voice trembling slightly with confusion. Milf, too, looked around with a mix of surprise and bewilderment. Her eyes narrowed as she tried to comprehend the sudden turn of events. She found only one answer to it. Rimuru and Ciel. So, she looked at the direction of her attack, and there they were standing, with a carefree attitude as if nothing had happened. Why, Rimuru, why did you step in? It was about to end. I was having so much fun. Milf shouted as she reached him, playfully punching him in a childish manner. Yeah, and in all that fun, you didn't realize the situation, Rimuru said calmly as he stopped her. I know everything. I know what was going on, and that's why I used that attack at only half of its actual power, she retorted in a very serious voice. No, you don't, because we both know that at this moment, Shizue is not capable of stopping that attack. Rimuru argued further. No, I can still go on. That was nothing. This time, Shizue spoke, still inside the protective barrier she had created. No, you weren't. Ciel said and gave a flick to the barrier lightly, causing it to collapse along with Shizue. But before she could reach the ground, Ciel caught her. See, that's what I was talking about. You are not in a condition to fight anymore. Ciel continued in her stern voice. If you were at your best condition before the start of the battle and not exhausted, then you could have continued the fight and even pushed milf more. But right now, you are not, and that's why we stepped in, Rimuru spoke, uncovering the reason for their intervention. And who's responsible for my exhaustion? Shizue said, accusing him along with a slight glare, while Ciel looked at her with a proud face. No, it's you who initiated, and I just went with the flow, so don't try to put the blame on me. And what are you looking so proud about, Ciel? Rimuru shot back, which shut her up. What are you guys talking about? Tell me. Tell me. While their conversation was going on, milf transformed back into her base form, and suddenly started to nag Rimuru to tell her what they were talking about. I think we should stop this conversation and return to enjoying the sunset, Ciel suggested out of nowhere, while she healed Shizue. Yeah, you are right. We came here to see the sunset in the first place. Shizue also agreed with Ciel, and hurried them towards the nearby tree to see the breathtaking view. As they gathered under the tree, the hues of the setting sun painted the sky with shades of crimson and gold, casting a warm glow over the serene landscape. The gentle breeze carried with it the scent of wildflowers, filling the air with a delicate fragrance. For a moment, all thoughts of battle faded away, replaced by a sense of peace and tranquility. Rimuru, Ciel, Shizue, and milf sat together, silently watching the sun sink below the horizon, its final rays painting the clouds in hues of pink and orange. In that moment, they found solace in each other's company, sharing a bond forged through love and friendship. As the sun dipped below the horizon, it cast a breathtaking view of the city below, its buildings bathed in the warm glow of twilight. The bustling streets seemed to quieten, as if paying homage to the beauty of the moment. Rimuru broke the peaceful silence, his voice soft yet filled with wonder. Look at that, even amidst the chaos of the world, there is beauty to be found, he said, gesturing towards the city below. Indeed, master. It's moments like these that remind us of the magic and wonder that exists in the world. Ciel nodded in agreement, her gaze fixed on the cityscape. Shizue smiled, her eyes sparkling with appreciation. Thank you for bringing us here, Rimuru. It's a sight I'll never forget, she said, her voice filled with gratitude. Milf grinned, her eyes alight with excitement. This is amazing. I never knew the Jura forest could be so beautiful, she exclaimed, her voice echoing with childlike wonder. And so, as they watched the sunset over the city, they felt a sense of peace wash over them, knowing that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Chapter 59. Veldora's Punishment. Right now, we are having lunch. Master, Shizue, Milf, Veldora, and me. Many things have happened since yesterday. For instance, Shizue and Milf had a fight, which went just as I expected. However, I think Master should get back at Velzard for pulling that trick on him with Milf. She taught Milf some words that are not appropriate for her, she is still too young for that. Well, it's their way of trying to have some fun, so it's fine for this time. Thinking back to the fight, it was truly a spectacle. The sheer power and determination displayed by Shizue was awe-inspiring. She fought valiantly, her golden flames blazing with intensity. Despite being pushed to her limits, she never backed down. Milf, on the other hand, showed why she is one of the strongest, unleashing attacks that shook the very foundation of the battlefield. I am truly proud of both of them, as I am the one who helped them become stronger. They still have a long way to go, but I am proud of my work. I could see the exhaustion in Shizue's eyes towards the end, though she would never admit it, that's the kind of person she is. The battle had already ended when Milf decided to use the Drago Nova. Milf's Drago Nova is a force to be reckoned with. If used at full power, no one besides me, Master, Veldora, and him would be able to block, deflect, or negate it. It's one of the strongest attacks in existence for a reason. The battle had reached a point where it was no longer safe for Shizue to continue. It was clear that this would be the end of the fight. After all, Shizue didn't fight with everything she had, she used just a little more than 60% of her power. Still, it's commendable that even with exhaustion, she was able to force Milf to use a little more than 25% of her actual power. As I glance around, I can see that the fight has left its mark on both of them. Shizue is quieter than usual, likely reflecting on her performance and thinking of ways to overcome her weaknesses. Milf is her usual energetic and eccentric self, but there's a newfound respect in her eyes when she looks at Shizue. Veldora, of course, is more interested in the food than anything else, but still occasionally shoots betrayed glances at Master. It's understandable, considering he whined so much when we returned after the fight, and Master told him about the battle between Shizue and Milf. He complained that we left him, and he's been saying things like Master's been growing more distant from him lately, and not acting like a true brother. He also wanted to fight or at least see the fight, but if we had brought him with us, then he would have nagged Master to no end, saying that he wanted to fight Milf, since it has been a long time he has gone all out, and his body is starting to get rusty, or he has some pent-up fighting spirit, and if he doesn't release it, then he could go berserk or create some story like that in order to fight Milf, even though he had just fought Milf the other day. It wouldn't be wise to let them fight again because if we do, they'll go all out and cause too much destruction, and lately, neither me nor Master are in the mood to deal with their aftermath. Well, let's leave him as he is for now. I am sure after his fight with Master, he will be quiet for some time. Master observes us all with a pensive expression. Everyone thinks he's proud of how far they've come, and all, but I know exactly what he is thinking. His thoughts are focused on Veldora's punishment. Veldora has to take responsibility for his actions. Master is thinking a form of punishment will be a good way to make him aware of his responsibilities, and the aftermath of his actions that he does without giving a thought. Now that I think about it, I still have one wish. After all, I won the bet that we set between me and Master after we took Zijin and Apido under us. I know what I want, and this is a good time to make my wish. Haha, this will be fun. Let this world know the true face of Master. Ciel with a plotting expression. Rimuru. While eating food with everyone, I can't help but notice the mixed atmosphere. Shizue is quietly eating, clearly deep in thought. Milf is as energetic as ever, but there's a slight change in her demeanor when she glances at Shizue. It's subtle, but I can see a newfound respect in her eyes. I think letting them fight was a good choice, but I still have to get back at Velzard for teaching Milf those inappropriate words. That sly woman enjoys playing tricks on me, but no worries, I have some things in mind for her. I'll get back at you, don't you worry, my little ice queen. Well, let's leave Velzard alone for now and focus on what's going on here. Veldora, as usual, is devouring his food with gusto since it is made by me. I even made a few of his favorite dishes to cheer him up a little. Still, he occasionally gives me a betrayed look, probably still upset about missing the fight between Shizue and Milf. It's amusing to see him like this. I'm not worried about his feelings because his complaints are nothing new to me, and I know this is just temporary. After some time, he will be back to his usual self. I guess it's partly my fault for his behavior by not involving him in their fight, but letting him fight milf again would only lead to unnecessary chaos, and I am not in the mood for something like that. I glance at Ciel, who is seated beside me on my right side, while Shizue is on my left. Ciel seems to be lost in thought. There's a mischievous glint in her eyes that makes me shudder in uneasiness. Knowing her, she's probably plotting something dubious. I need to keep an eye on her. Reflecting on yesterday's fight, I'm proud of how far Shizue has come. Her golden flames were impressive, and they have become stronger than last time. Her determination never wavered, even when pushed to her limits. milf, on the other hand, displayed her overwhelming strength, her attacks shaking the very ground they fought on. I am truly proud of both of them, but they still have plenty to learn. As I ponder these thoughts, I can't help but think about Veldora. His enthusiasm for fighting is both his strength and his weakness. I know he enjoys fighting, but I have to balance his desires with the safety and well-being of everyone else. The fight between him and milf at this moment would be disastrous, and right now, neither Ciel nor I have the desire to deal with the aftermath of their fight. I watch as Veldora continues to eat, occasionally grumbling to himself. He wanted to fight milf, claiming that he's getting rusty and needs to release his pent-up fighting spirit. But the truth is, he had just fought milf recently. I admit that it was just a warm-up, but their warm-up is more than enough to cause havoc in Tempest. Another fight where they go all out would only lead to more unnecessary destruction. I need to find a way to address Veldora's concerns without letting things get out of hand. I know the right solution for this. Our sparring match. It was still pending, and now that the Colosseum is finished, it's a good time for it. After that, he will stay quiet for some time. Also, it has been a few years since I have stretched my body, so it will be a good warm-up for me too. Yep, let's go with that match, and after that, I can put my plan into motion too. Well, let's leave that match for later and focus on the recent events after milf and Shizue's fight. A few noteworthy events happened yesterday, such as milf killing that one Majin named Phobio. He came here and started to spout some nonsense, which ticked off milf, and she punched him, which accidentally ended up killing him. Well, he was annoying, so I didn't say anything to her. Guys, he was seriously too annoying. If she hadn't killed him, I would have done it myself. After she killed him, I asked her who he was, and she told me that he was one of her acquaintance's subordinates, but she didn't know more than that, and I didn't ask her further because I don't care about it. If that person ever comes, then I'll just have to see him. And if he also starts to spout some nonsense like his subordinates, then I'll just kill him. Anyway, let's forget that. So where was I? Oh, yeah, she killed him, and nothing much. Also, Tabiru and Vesta are doing some good research together. Yesterday, Tabiru reported to me some of their research, and it was quite interesting. I think I should bring Rammers here sooner than what I thought. I'll think about that later. Additionally, Geld and his men have already finished the restoration of the land that got destroyed during the little confrontation between milf and Veldora. This brings me back to Veldora. I think before the match, I need to punish him for fighting milf the other day. I don't mind them fighting, but I do mind the destruction they caused. If they had isolated that area beforehand, then I wouldn't think about it. But these idiots, they just fought without even putting a barrier around, and that was a pretty reckless thing to do considering they were so near the city. I sighed, contemplating the best way to handle Veldora's punishment. It needs to be something that drives the lesson home, but doesn't have to be too strict. Maybe some community service around Tempest or helping with the construction projects. Nah, that's not a good idea. Ah, I know. I completely forgot about it until now, but isn't it around this time that I decided to make Veldora take responsibility for his child? I do think that he has matured enough and is responsible enough to take on the role of a father. Yes, this is a very good punishment for him. Yep, let's bring his child back. Also, I want a cute niece to spoil. Well, after lunch, I'll talk with him. Turning my attention back to the table, I see Shuna entering the room with more dishes. She has been diligently preparing meals, and her cooking always manages to lift everyone's spirits. Compared to our first meeting, she has grown a lot. She places a beautifully arranged platter near Shizue, who smiles in appreciation, although it's clear her mind is still elsewhere. Shizue, how are you feeling? I asked gently, trying to draw her out of her thoughts. She looked up, her eyes reflecting a mixture of determination and fatigue. I'm alright, Rimuru, just thinking about the fight and how I can improve. milf is incredibly and abnormally strong, and I need to get stronger if I want to keep up, she said, determination burning in her eyes with the same intensity as her golden flames. I nodded at her, understanding her drive. You've come a long way, Shizue. Your golden flames were impressive yesterday. But remember, strength isn't just about power, it's also about control and strategy. milf's strength is overwhelming, but you have brilliant skills that can complement your growth, I said, offering her some advice. I know. I need to train harder and learn to use my abilities more effectively. I would let myself fall behind, Shizue replied, nodding and taking in my words. Seeing her resolve, I can't help but smile. from a weak, battered, and bruised 8-year-old girl to the beautiful, gorgeous, mature, and strong lady she is now, Shizue has truly come a long way. That's the spirit. You all have room to grow, and with your dedication, I am sure you'll reach new heights. If you ever need help or want to test yourself, I'm here for you, I said, offering words of encouragement to everyone. Hearing this, her eyes softened slightly, showing gratitude beneath the determination. You did great, Shizue. You've come a long way, and this is just another step of many. Don't be too hard on yourself, I reassured her. Milf, overhearing our conversation, leaned over with a grin. Yeah, Shizue. You were amazing out there. Next time, let's go even harder, she exclaimed, eagerly patting Shizue on the back. Shizue chuckled softly, her spirits lifting slightly. Thanks, Milf-chan. I'll be ready, she responded in a gentle, motherly tone. Meanwhile, Veldora remained focused on his food, though he was now paying more attention to our conversation. Rimuru, do you really think Shizue can reach the level of me and Milf? He asked, his mouth half filled with food. First, don't talk while you eat or eat while you talk. Do one thing at a time, I advise, gently reminding Veldora of his manners. And second, under the right circumstances, Shizue can definitely become stronger than she's now. But reaching your Milf's level is a different matter. You two are on a completely different level, I continued, addressing his question. He grunted in acknowledgement, clearly pleased with the compliment. Well, if that's the case, maybe I'll help her train again. Could be fun, he said, chewing thoughtfully. I smiled, knowing that having Veldora's support would be beneficial for Shizue. That sounds like a great idea. Just remember to keep it controlled. We don't need another incident like before, I warned him, knowing his tendency to get carried away when he gets hyped. As we continued to eat and chat, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and contentment. Despite the occasional chaos, we've all grown so close. The bonds we formed are strong, they will last forever. Third person Pav. After Rimuru and Co. finished their lunch, they moved to the cozy living room of their house. The room was a blend of comfort and practicality, filled with plush seating and a large table that often served as their gathering spot for discussions and planning, especially during family meetings or private talks. Rimuru settled into his favorite armchair, feeling a sense of contentment wash over him. Ciel, never leaving Rimuru's side, positioned herself in the chair beside him. Veldora sprawled out on a large couch, opened a manga, and started to read it without a care in the world. Shizue and Milf chose to sit closer to the fireplace, engaging in small talk as the warm glow added to the room's inviting atmosphere. Breaking the relaxed silence, Rimuru addressed the group. We have a lot to discuss after the recent events, and I don't want to beat around the bush. So, I'll get straight to the point, Rimuru said, capturing everyone's attention. Veldora, we need to talk about your actions, Rimuru continued, his tone firm but fair. Hearing this, Veldora looked up from his manga, a slight frown forming on his face. Specifically, you fight with Milf the other day. You both caused significant damage, and now that we have a nation to protect, we can't afford to let that happen again. We need to set some boundaries, Rimuru stated, looking directly at Veldora, his golden eyes piercing through Veldora's feigned disheartened expression. Seeing this, Veldora sighed, setting his manga aside. I get it, bro. I admit that I got a little bit carried away. But why do I have to take the punishment? Didn't you say that Geld and his men had already repaired the damage? Seeing that Rimuru was not being fooled by his act, he decided to argue and avoid the consequences. I was aware that I would face punishment when I decided to fight her, and I don't regret it either. After all, in exchange for only a small punishment, I managed to show my greatness to them. That was a fair trade. But still, I don't want punishment, but he is not being fooled by my awesome acting. I guess I have to see this to the end. Well, if I am going to get punished anyway, then why not try to make it as minimal as possible? And even if it doesn't work, I'll just have to deal with it. After all, great things come with great risk. That's the spirit, Veldora. Tackle the problem head on. Those were Veldora's thoughts as he continued to argue with Rimuru. Hearing Veldora's words, Rimuru leaned forward, his expression becoming more serious and a cold look coming into his eyes. I don't mind how you act or how much you goof around, but you have to take responsibility for your actions and face the consequences, Rimuru said, his voice calm yet serious. Your fight with Milf caused a lot of damage, and as a result, there needs to be accountability. And since the restoration work is already finished, I have a different kind of punishment in mind for you, he finished, his tone firm and final. Veldora raised an eyebrow, curious and slightly apprehensive about the punishment. What do you mean by a different kind of punishment? He asked, full of confusion and wonder. The mere thought of receiving some kind of punishment from Ciel made him shudder, so he wanted to be sure. At this, Rimuru's serious demeanor changed, a mischievous glint appearing in his eyes, which sent shivers down Veldora's spine. Your punishment is to take responsibility for your child, he said in a dramatic manner, but there was still a seriousness in his voice. As the words left Rimuru's mouth, the room fell silent. The atmosphere was tense, but also filled with confusion and curiosity. Chapter 60. A new family member. Your punishment is to take responsibility for your child, Rimuru said dramatically, though there was still seriousness in his voice. As the words left Rimuru's mouth, the room fell silent. The atmosphere was tense, filled with confusion and curiosity. Hearing this, Veldora blinked in confusion. According to his memory, he did not have any children, so he didn't understand what Rimuru meant by his child. My child? What are you talking about, Rimuru? I don't have any children. Are you sure you know what you're talking about? He asked Rimuru in shock and confusion. Seeing Veldora's behavior, Rimuru sighed, shaking his head slightly in disappointment. Veldora, I'm talking about the responsibility you have to your creations. You have a progeny that needs the guidance and supervision of the great storm dragon, the-tale-of-rimuru-tempest, Rimuru said, hoping to remind Veldora of what he was talking about. But to Rimuru's disappointment, Veldora didn't understand what he was saying, so he decided to enlighten him a little more. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the creature that was born from your magicules, your child, the Chibis. You know, the creature that was born from your leaking magicules around a century or a century and a half ago, Rimuru said, trying to clarify. Veldora still looked puzzled for a moment, and then realization dawned on him. Wait, you mean you're talking about that fish? He exclaimed, his voice a mix of surprise and reluctance. Rimuru nodded firmly. Yes, that's exactly what I mean. And don't just call it a fish, she's your child, you know. It's finally time for you to take responsibility for it. I stayed quiet for a long time when you said you weren't ready to take responsibility for a child, but now I won't hear any of your complaints. It's time for you to show that you can handle this responsibility. Be a man, bro. Rimuru said, giving Veldora a motivational speech toward the end. Veldora tried to argue more with Rimuru, denying that Chibis was his child. But Rimuru, Chibis is just a byproduct of my magicules. It's not like I intentionally created it, he protested. But Rimuru cut him off, saying, regardless of how she came to be, she is still your creation. You have the power to control it and guide it. Ignoring it won't make the problem go away. It's time to take charge. In the end, no one listened to Veldora's protests, and he realized he had no choice but to take responsibility for Chibis. Veldora sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair, as he began to contemplate how he would manage this new responsibility. Alright, Rimuru. I understand. I'll do it, he said, though the reluctance in his voice was as clear as the blue sky. Hearing this, Rimuru's expression softened slightly. Good. I know it's not easy, but it's necessary. This is your chance to prove that you can be responsible and to strengthen the bond with your child. With this, you can show everyone that you're not only strong but also a capable individual, so be the man. Rimuru encouraged Veldora a little more, while emphasizing the importance of taking on this new responsibility. Veldora took a deep breath, trying to process everything Rimuru had told him. The idea of taking responsibility for Chibis was difficult and way out of his league, but Rimuru's words had struck a chord. He glanced around the room, noticing the expectant faces of his friends. Shizue and milf had paused their conversation by the fireplace, and Ciel was watching closely from her seat beside Rimuru, her face a mix of curiosity and interest. Fine, Veldora muttered, rubbing the back of his neck. I'll take care of her. But you better be ready to help if things get out of hand. After all, for someone as great as me, the role of guardian is not suited. Veldora said, standing a little taller. Rimuru smiled, a look of satisfaction crossing his face. That's the spirit. I knew you had it in you. And, of course, Veldora, I am here to support you. That's what brothers are for. Rimuru said, giving Veldora a slap of appreciation on the back. Veldora nodded, feeling a newfound sense of purpose. milf, unable to contain her excitement, jumped up and pumped her fist into the air. This is going to be so much fun. I am going to have a little sibling. She exclaimed, waving her fist in the air with excitement and enthusiasm. Chibis will benefit greatly from having her creator's guidance. This will be an important step for both of you, Ciel said with a soft smile. Veldora, feeling a bit more confident with his friend's support, stood up from the couch. Alright then, let's get this started. Where is Chibis right now? He asked. Ugh, how did I forget that you're such an airhead? Did you seriously forget that we had sealed her away? Rimuru said in an exasperated manner. Haha, I guess I forgot, but it was more than a century ago, so it's only natural. Anyway, let's undo the seal, Veldora said, trying to change the subject. Well, don't worry about that. Diablo, Rimuru said, calling Diablo who had been standing beside him the whole time. Yes, my lord, Diablo bowed in front of Rimuru, waiting for his order. Call Trini. Inform her that I have ordered the release of Chibis, Rimuru commanded Diablo, who swiftly bowed again before leaving to fulfill his master's order. Sui. As Diablo left, Rimuru called Sui. Yes, Lord Rimuru. Sui asked as he appeared out of thin air like a splendid ninja, and kneeled in front of Rimuru. Tell the executives that today there will be some activities going on in the outskirts of the city. I'll be conducting an experiment there, so there's no need to panic or think we're being invaded, he said to Sui. Understood. With that reply, Sui disappeared into the shadows just as he had appeared. Well then, let's move outside, shall we? This time it was Ciel who spoke as both she and Rimuru stood up. Rimuru walked beside Veldora, giving him a reassuring pat on the back. Remember, Veldora, this isn't just about punishment. It's about growth for both you and Chibis. You've got this, he said as they headed outside. As they made their way outside, the cool breeze of the evening air greeted them. The group walked with purpose. Veldora kept his gaze forward, mentally preparing himself for the responsibility he was about to undertake. Chibis, unleashed from its ancient seal, had already begun its rampage through the forest. Trees toppled, and the ground trembled with each movement of the massive creature. Driven by an insatiable craving for destruction, it headed straight for Rimuru's city. Rimuru and Co. arrived at the outskirts of the city just as Chibis came into view. The sight of the colossal creature, accompanied by other creatures resembling sharks known as megalodon, was imposing. Despite its mindless rage and destructive intent, Chibis moved forward. The massive form of Chibis caught their attention, but there was no panic. Each member of the group knew they had the power to handle Chibis if necessary. Trainee, who had undone the seal, arrived simultaneously. Her expression was calm and resolute, her presence serene and commanding. She nodded to Rimuru, Ciel, and Veldora, indicating that she had completed her task and simultaneously greeting them warmly. Are you ready, Veldora? Rimuru asked, his voice steady and supportive. To his question, Veldora simply nodded. I'll grant her her own ego, but before that, take care of these sharks that are accompanying her. Also, destroy her physical body and leave only her core behind, because I have something good planned for her, Rimuru said to Veldora, while giving him a gesture to go ahead. Okay. Veldora took a deep breath and nodded as he headed towards Chibis. As Veldora approached, he flared his haki. Since they were outside the city, he could release a small amount, which was enough for the task. Focusing solely on Chibis, he directed his haki towards her, causing her material body to corrode and disintegrate. Soon, the entire material body of Chibis was obliterated, and it even affected her spiritual body, leaving only her core behind. Afterward, he turned his attention to the megalodons. He specifically refrained from harming them, as he had heard their meat was delicious. Veldora personally subdued them, ensuring their meat could be harvested later. All done, brother. Now it's your turn, Veldora said as he finished his job. Okay, Rimuru replied, and what followed is... Snap. With a snap, Rimuru granted Chibis her own ego and will. Immediately, the core of Chibis started to shine brightly. The group watched as the transformation took place, the core of Chibis glowing with newfound consciousness and purpose. The immediate threat was neutralized, and a new chapter for Chibis was about to begin. Hey Veldora, give her a name. She's your child, give her a cool and suitable name, Rimuru said, pausing the development of Chibis' ego. I'm not good at giving names, and I want her to have a beautiful and fitting name. Why don't you give her a name, and I'll give her our family name? How's that sound? Veldora proposed, knowing his lack of skill in naming, but emphasizing his desire for his child to have a beautiful and appropriate name. If you're okay with it, then fine by me, Rimuru replied to Veldora, and began to think of a good name. Ah, I found one. It's a good one, totally beautiful and fitting for her, he said after a moment of thought, and once again resumed the development that he had stopped a few moments ago. How about Valoria? A mixture of Vel with Gloria, which means glory, but it sounds like storm complimenting you and reflecting your connection with her, Rimuru suggested. Yeah, that sounds good, Veldora nodded in approval of the name. I, the Chaos Creator, bestow upon you the name Valoria. From now on, you will be known as Valoria, Rimuru declared majestically. I, the great mighty storm dragon, the-tale-of-rimuru-tempest, bestow upon you the name Tempest, Veldora added, following Rimuru's declaration. We, the Chaos Brothers, bestow upon you the name Valoria-tempest. From now on, you will be known as Valoria-tempest, they declared in unison. With that, the glowing light from the ego intensified, shining with rainbow colors that grew brighter with each passing second. As they named her, a huge amount of magicules from both Veldora and Rimuru left them and enveloped the now named Valoria. Soon after, the core created its spiritual body, followed by its material body. As her material body started to form, flesh and blood vessels gradually took shape, and soon an ethereal form took on substance, shaping into the delicate beauty of a female. As Valoria's material body began to form, the group gazed in awe at her transformation. Her bright yellow hair, reminiscent of Veldora's, began to sprout from her scalp, growing rapidly until it reached just past her shoulders, gleaming in delight. Her eyes, also bright yellow, slowly took shape within her forming face, their draconic pupils adding an intense, captivating depth to her gaze. A beautiful nose formed next, followed by a pair of delicate pinkish lips with a touch of red. Muscles and bones formed beneath the surface of her ethereal skin, giving structure and definition to her figure. Her beauty was striking, comparable to some of the most beautiful women in existence, akin to her aunts. Her form included an ample size of breasts, complementing her overall appearance with a sense of femininity and maturity. She appeared to be around the age of a 17-18-year-old teenager on the brink of adulthood, slightly shorter than Veldora, yet exuding a graceful yet powerful presence. As her transformation neared completion, Rimuru waved his hand, creating an outfit befitting her new status. A sleek high-collared tunic adorned with intricate golden embroidery materialized on her forming body, signifying her royal lineage. The tunic featured detailed patterns of dragons and chaos, symbolizing her connection to the Tempest family. The cuffs and hem of the tunic were lined with silver and gold thread, adding a touch of elegance. The tunic was paired with fitted trousers made of flexible yet durable fabric, ensuring comfort and freedom of movement. Her boots, sturdy yet stylish, reached just below her knees. Finally, around her waist, a decorative sash of fine silk wound elegantly, embroidered with subtle designs of swirling storms and dragon motifs. The sash added a regal flair to her attire without compromising on practicality. As her transformation completed, Valoria stood before everyone, emanating elegance. Her bright yellow hair reaching past her shoulders, framing vibrant eyes with draconic pupils that held an intense gaze. Delicate features and nose and lips tinged with soft pink completed a refined look. Her otherworldly, flawless ethereal skin highlighted her figure, including ample breasts, exuding femininity and maturity. Slightly shorter than Veldora, she carried herself with poise, embodying youthful vigor. Adorned in attire crafted by Rimuru, Valoria wore a high-collared tunic, adorned with intricate golden embroidery featuring dragon and chaos motifs. Silver and gold threads embellished the cuffs and hem, complementing flexible trousers and stylish knee-high boots that balanced practicality with elegance. Around her waist, a fine silk sash embroidered with swirling storm and dragon designs added an extra touch of sophistication, emphasizing her elevated status. Overall, Valoria radiated beauty, strength, and regality in every aspect of her appearance. The group marveled as Valoria's body finished forming, recognizing the strength and potential she embodied. As her transformation completed, Rimuru nudged Veldora to go and talk to her. Veldora stepped forward, a proud smile on his face. Kahaha, Valoria Tempest, I am your father, the great mighty storm dragon Veldora Tempest. Welcome to your new life. You are part of our family, Veldora greeted her, awkwardness visible in his very being. Hello, father, Valoria replied, her own awkwardness apparent. You don't need to fear anything, Veldora continued, trying to reassure her. I am here for you. We are here for you, always. I know this might be overwhelming, but we are family, Veldora said, surprising the onlookers. No one had expected Veldora to express such sentiments, making it a surprising moment for them. Valoria looked at Veldora, their bright yellow eyes meeting. The initial awkwardness began to fade as she saw the genuine warmth and pride in his expression. I understand, father. I will do my best to live up to your expectations, Valoria said, her voice steadying as her previous awkwardness slowly faded away. Veldora stepped closer, his smile softening. It's not about living up to expectations. It's about growing, learning, and becoming the best version of yourself. We are family, and that means we will face everything together. You don't need to fear anything, this is just the beginning of a beautiful journey, Veldora reassured her, his voice filled with conviction. For a moment, Valoria looked unsure of what to do. However, as she gazed at Veldora, she felt an inexplicable pull towards him, and unknowingly started to move in his direction. With a hint of hesitation, she took a tentative step forward, then another. Gradually, she closed the distance between them and embraced Veldora. Veldora's arms wrapped around her gently, holding her close. Her slender figure was completely enveloped in Veldora's embrace, a fatherly gesture filled with comfort and reassurance. That's my girl. I'll make you the happiest girl in the world, he said softly. As she heard Veldora's words, Valoria felt warmth spreading through her entire body, down to her very core. She experienced a sense of belonging she had never known before, feeling full, complete, and whole, as if everything had finally fallen into place. In this moment, she realized and recognized that the storm dragon, Veldora Tempest, is truly her father, and she accepted it. She accepted Veldora, and she wholeheartedly accepted her new family, the Tempest family. Rimuru watched the scene unfold with a smile, feeling a profound sense of fulfillment. The bond between Veldora and Valoria was already beginning to form, promising to be strong. Valoria pulled back slightly, gazing up at Veldora with newfound respect and affection. Thank you, father. I'm ready to start this new life, she said gently. And I will be right here with you, every step of the way, Veldora nodded, his eyes filled with pride, love, and joy, emotions too profound to be expressed in mere words. Hey Veldora, not fair. Not fair, I also want to hug her. While they were having their moment, milm suddenly interrupted them, her voice filled with excitement and eagerness. Milm's sudden interruption broke the tender moment, and she dashed over to Valoria, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Hi Valoria. I'm Milm, your big sister and strong too. I'm so happy to meet you. Milm exclaimed, wrapping Valoria in a quick enthusiastic hug. Valoria, initially taken aback by Milm's energy, soon smiled and hugged her back. It's nice to meet you, elder sister Milm. Thank you for the warm welcome, Valoria said, unsure of how to handle the situation. Easy there, Milm-chan, you're making it difficult for her, Shizue said, noticing Valoria's awkwardness as she gently separated Milm from Valoria. Rimuru stepped forward, his eyes twinkling with pride and happiness. Nice to meet you, Valoria. I'm Rimuru-Tempest. And I'm the brother of this good-for-nothing idiot father of yours, which means I'm your uncle, Rimuru said with a warm smile, introducing himself in a more informative manner. As Veldora heard Rimuru's words, he started to complain to him in a very indignant manner, while Valoria found the whole scenario quite funny and interesting. Nice to meet you too, Uncle, Valoria said, giggling as she watched Veldora complain to Rimuru, who was ignoring him. Don't mind him, he's like this, too carefree and goofy. If he does something unintentionally or intentionally that might upset you, give him a good scolding or just come to me. I'll take care of him, Rimuru said to Valoria. By this time, Veldora was practically ready to attack him. Rimuru, why are you ruining my cool image by telling her that? Veldora exclaimed, clearly annoyed and on the verge of exploding. See, Valoria, that's what I'm talking about, Rimuru said, standing beside her and pointing towards Veldora to illustrate his point. But he is a good person, so he'll take good care of you. Don't worry, and we are here too, he added reassuringly, with a comforting smile. I'm not worried about anything, Uncle, Valoria said softly, observing the interaction between her father and uncle with amusement. Well, let's leave him as he is and move ahead. Here she is, my wife Ciel, Tempest, Rimuru said warmly, introducing Ciel. Hello, Aunt Ciel, Valoria greeted with a cheerful smile. Nice to meet you, Valoria. As Master has said, I'm Ciel Tempest, Master's wife. I'm glad to see you joining our family, Valoria. You have great potential, Ciel introduced herself, her voice soft, warm, and welcoming. For a moment, Valoria looked confused as to why Ciel referred to Rimuru as Master, despite being his wife. However, she couldn't quite comprehend this matter, as she doesn't have much knowledge about these things, so she let it go. While Valoria pondered over this, Ciel approached her with a gentle smile. Take this as a gift from your lovely aunt, Ciel said, gently touching Valoria's forehead and granting her a unique skill. Thanks, Aunt Ciel. Valoria exclaimed, surprised but grateful, and hugged Ciel tightly, who returned the embrace warmly. As they exchanged pleasantries, Valoria found herself drawn to Ciel's gentle demeanor and kindness. She decided that she would seek Ciel's guidance whenever needed, appreciating the stability and warmth that Ciel exuded. I look forward to learning more about our family, this world, and everything here, Valoria added as they separated, her excitement palpable. Let's move ahead. This is my second wife, Shizue Tempest, Rimuru said, introducing Shizue. Welcome, Valoria. I'm Shizue. It's wonderful to have you with us, Shizue said with a soft, appreciative voice. Her demeanor was calm and composed, and she smiled gently, radiating warmth and hospitality towards Valoria. Valoria returned Shizue's smile, feeling a sense of ease in her presence. Thank you, Aunt Shizue. It's nice to meet you. I'm looking forward to learning more about everyone, about this world, she said. Shizue's eyes twinkled with kindness as she replied. I'm glad to hear that, Valoria. This world is quite interesting and fun to live in, and there's so much to discover. If you ever have any questions or need guidance, don't hesitate to ask. I'm here to help you, she said in a soft, gentle voice. Valoria nodded appreciatively, feeling reassured by Shizue's warm welcome and offer of support. She felt overwhelmed with the warm greetings and the sense of belonging radiating from everyone. She looked around at the group, her new family, and felt a deep sense of gratitude. Thank you, everyone. I'm truly honored to be part of this family. I will do my best to live up to all of your expectations, Valoria said, her voice filled with sincerity. Hearing this, Veldora placed a hand on her shoulder, beaming with pride. You don't have to worry about expectations, Valoria. Just be yourself and grow at your own pace. And if you need anything, just ask for it, he said. The interaction continued with more friendly exchanges, laughter, and deepening bonds. Valoria felt her nervousness fading away, replaced by newfound confidence and excitement for the future. After a while, they started to head toward the city. As they walked, Valoria looked around at her new family and felt truly welcomed and at home. For her, the future looked bright, and she knew that with their support, she could face anything that came her way.